This is video 3 of 9 on our series on why things exist. So this one is entitled, How Complicated Can an Abstract Object Be? And Causality. So let's start off with a few definitions. Universe in small letters. Any random universe, such as the universe we live in. Universe in all caps. The sum total of all and anything that exists, either as a physical reality or an abstract reality. Fundamental, a primary rule or principle on which something is based. A fundamental has nothing preceding it to make it true. Examples would be quantities such as 1, 2, and 3. They require nothing for them to be what they are. They are not dependent on a creation by a god or the thoughts of a mathematician. They exist merely because they are true and only in that they are true. Emergent, that which arises from a combination of elements. An example of this would be a machine does A, another machine does B. If A and B machines are combined and they can not only do A and B, but they can also do C, the property C is an emergent property from the combination of the machines that do A and B. Abstract objects and concrete objects were both defined in video 1, but let's go over them again. Abstract objects are objects not present in time and space and do not interact causally with our world. Concrete objects are objects which are spatial, temporal, and can interact causally with our world. How complicated can an abstract object be? Let's start off with the simple ones. Numbers, 1, 2, and 3. Real numbers, primes, complex numbers. Then we have operators, plus, minus, multiplication, division, equals, square roots, exponents. In advanced math, we have calculus, set theory, abstract algebra. In geometry, we have squares, circles, flat, and curved spaces. The above are intuitively obvious, logical, abstract objects, and so relatively simple to understand as abstract objects, existing merely because they are true. Let's consider something more complex. Logic. Inductive, specific to general. Observation to hypothesis. When one person gets a cold, others in that group get a cold. Cold are infectious. Deductive logic. Premise A and related premise B gives us a conclusion C. Example would be, all men are mortal. Pete is a man. Pete is mortal. Movement. From geometry we have 1, 2, 3, and higher spatial dimensions. From spatial dimensions we get points A and B. This gives the concept of distance and movement from A to B. Forces. Push and pull by objects in contact as well as at a distance can be described mathematically as direct effects or fields. Let's now consider how extremely complex an abstract object can be. The proof to Boolean Pythagorean triplets is the largest ever. It comes in at a massive 200 terabytes. Since a mathematician here on Earth and another in a distant galaxy, starting with the same axioms, would have to come up with the same proof, it means that this 200 terabyte proof is an abstract object that exists merely because it is true. Now, how abstract can an abstract object be? This one has already been introduced, but since it's so central to not being logically obvious, and since it is also an everyday experience, let's break it down. Colors. Although we take them for granted, they really have no intuitively obvious basis like numbers do. They step outside logical truths and are about as abstract as anything can get. So, we can say, colors do not exist in our universe. Colors are perceived by sentient beings in our universe. Therefore, colors are abstract objects that interact with our reality. Realizing that unlike math or geometry, colors have no logical precedent. That is, they have nothing on which they are based, they just are. It means that colors are also fundamentals. Colors have no logical precedent. Colors exist within the abstract realm. Conclusion, colors are fundamentals. Some further considerations on how out-of-the-box abstract objects can be. This understanding comes from combining the understandings of Godel's incompleteness theorem with colors. Godel's incompleteness theorem states that in any reasonable mathematical system there are true statements which cannot be proven from the axioms of that system. Hence, the logical system is incomplete. These statements that cannot be derived from the axioms, no matter how complex or abstract, are not built upon fundamentals, and so must be fundamentals themselves in relationship to the axioms of that system. That is, they must exist a priori as abstract objects. Of course, there may be another set of axioms that could prove these statements, but then there will be other true statements not provable using the new set of axioms. Here, we have another example of logical truth just existing as truths on their own, as well as another example of an infinite progress, as we went over in video 2 on self-referential statements. Now, Godel's incompleteness theorem is an abstract object, and so are the conclusions of Godel's incompleteness theorem. So then, interpretation of Godel's incompleteness theorem is that true statements, no matter how complicated, can just exist without derivation. Axioms, Godel's incompleteness theorem, conclusions. True statements exist without derivation. To review the importance of colors. The perception of colors by humans is the perception of something that does not exist within our universe. Colors are a narrow band of radio waves, which are just ripples in the electromagnetic field. They do not have any inherent color. When EM waves strike the retina, they cause a chemical reaction, just as they cause a chemical reaction in a film camera. That then sets off a chain reaction of chemical events that starts a chemical dance along the optic nerve and then within and between neurons within the brain. Nowhere in this process is there a color. There is no little man looking at a screen being painted with colors. No axons or cell bodies flashing colors. Just chemical reactions. And yet somehow colors are experienced. To further break this down, since colors do not exist in our universe, you could logically expect that at best the final activity within cell bodies and axons would just be more or less activity spread out over groups of cells and axons, and at best all that would be experienced would be black and white and shades of gray. But that is not the case. Somehow the mind is able to make some sort of conceptual leap and experience colors. We can state, colors are not logical or intuitively obvious. Colors are abstract objects. Conclusion, there exists a generative principle within the abstract realm that is not limited to logic. This is similar to how Godel's incompleteness theorem is proof of true statements without derivation in a logical system. The generative principle allows for a similar conclusion in regards to the abstract realm, only with a more broad application into areas without logical basis, such as color and mind. Abstract realm, generative principle. Conclusion, anything can be a fundamental within the abstract realm, such as colors and mind. Make note of this last conclusion. It will have an impact on understanding where in the universe we live. And that's universe with all caps. Let's go over the causalities within the abstract realm. As previously discussed, we have self-referential statements that generate an infinite progress. Godel's incompleteness theorem implies there may be innumerable underivable true statements. By the generative principle, God's consciousness and something real are all fundamentals as well as being emergents. Let's now go over a driving force within the abstract realm. Abstract realm, the generative principle, conclusion, causal forces exist within the abstract realm. So a driving force does exist within the abstract realm, even though a driving force was shown to not be necessary for causality within the abstract realm. And if we now consider God, consciousness, and something real as abstract objects, then the question of their possibly being causal generates the abstract object of an infinite regress. Lastly, there are operative abstract objects such as addition and subtraction. Godel's incompleteness theorem and a generative principle both show how fundamentals and true logical statements just are. Let's go over our list of possibility for causality within the abstract realm. Self-referential, infinite progression, infinite regress, Godel's incompleteness theorem, the generative principle, causal forces, and the combining of abstract objects to yield new abstract objects. But now it's time for a change in perspective in regards to abstract objects. The term abstract object is just a convention. If you'll remember, back in video number 2, I said abstract objects are not really abstract objects. Here's why. Take a step back and you'll realize that everything we have discussed is actually a concept, and so are definitions. Concept, an abstract idea. And that is precisely what an abstract object is, an abstract idea. In other words, a concept. And these concepts exist as explained in videos 1 and 2 because they are true whether or not there is a thinker to think them. So the abstract realm is actually a conceptual realm, or a realm of unthought thoughts, or a realm of pure information. And from now on, I will use the terms interchangeably as it suits the moment. In summary, our list of abstract objects can be logical, outside of logical, very complex, very abstract, generated, spontaneous, uncaused, and caused. Our list of causalities can be self-referential, infinite progression, infinite regress, Godel's incompleteness theorem, the generative principle, causal forces, and the combining of elements. We really have found the first cause, the uncaused cause. Abstract objects, along with that mysterious nothingness, exist because they are true, and that they have essentially infinite potential for generation and combination. I can say, welcome to the real multiverse, and surprise, everything really is a free lunch. But we are not done. There are other first causes besides abstract objects and nothingness. Well, sort of. But for now, I've given you a lot to criticize, so have at it. Next time, in video 4, we will be tackling the impossible by creating a universe and explaining consciousness. I hope to see you there.